US President Donald Trump still wants Apple to make iPhones in the United States. He's threatening an import levy of at least 25% on phones that aren't made in the USA. He says, I've been bending Tim Cook, the Apple CEO's ear over this, and a tariff of at least 25% is in the offing if he doesn't move the manufacturing to the USA. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Let's get more from a guy who's been following Apple for quite a while now, Eric Jackson, founder and president of EMJ Capital. Eric, thank you very much for joining us. Is this theater, political theater, in the sense that Apple is not going to be able to move its factories to America anytime soon?
Yeah, it makes you wonder, Andy, if where was Tim Cook last week when everybody was in Riyadh for the Saudi conference? I mean, I think he could have potentially saved himself some grief had he just freed up his schedule and traveled out there, because it seems like President Trump was miffed that he wasn't, whereas people like Jensen was. So I don't know. I mean, Cook apparently was at the White House just a couple of days ago, this past week. So I'm sure the lines of communication are open. Hopefully, like with all things tariffs, this is just a volley in what's leading to kind of a longer term settlement.
Just thinking about an iPhone, the economic value of an iPhone, is a lot of it in the actual manufacturing of the product, or is it the IP, or because I mean, factories are only part of the story.
Well, it's the whole value proposition of the hardware mixed with the software, kind of working together seamlessly, integrated with your AirPods, integrated with your watch, and all this kind of stuff that only Apple can do. But the problem is, from a manufacturing point of view, my friend Dan Ives of Wedbush has said, if they were to bring back the full manufacturing of the iPhone to the US, it would be a $3,500 phone that would be purchased versus whatever, $1,000 today. So, I mean, that's a huge delta. And it's sort of like not on. And even if we agreed that, okay, let's start selling $3,500 iPhones, like you say, it's going to take years to get there. So we're in the near term, China and India are going to be part of the solution. And so how we then how Tim Cook strikes an agreement with President Trump is then the question.
Right. Dan Ives of Wedbush saying the concept of Apple producing iPhones in the US is a fairy tale that's not feasible. And the iPhone would cost about $3,500 US, and that's a non-starter. Maybe we should move on, because part of this obviously is political showboating. You are keen on crypto. Give us your view. And part of this is the younger investors, younger consumers are interested in this area.
Yeah, I'm very bullish on both on Bitcoin and Ethereum, Andy, full stop. Just the actual currencies, or if obviously there's a slew of ETFs available that people can buy as well. BlackRock's been the most successful in the US. They're sucking up something like 90% of the inflows into crypto ETFs, into their particular Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. So I think what's been sort of startling this year in the wake of Liberation Day and tariffs and a declining stock market is just that the embrace, especially since the April lows, of Bitcoin and Ethereum, almost as sort of like a younger generation's preference over gold for sort of an alternative to the currency. I think a growing skepticism amongst a lot of people in governments around the world and their ability to get their fiscal houses in order, and what's the alternative if they are just going to continue to spend money and so forth. So I think we're still in the early stages. There's like interesting charts going around about how recently just the global money supply has been on the increase, and historically that's been a huge leading indicator of where the price of Bitcoin is going. So even though we're sitting at all-time highs now, or at least we were until this morning's truths came out, I think there's a scenario that I think is realistic, that we see much higher highs ahead for Bitcoin, and the sick man Ethereum, which is still down something like 20% on the year. It's sort of been forgotten about, but I think is where a lot of layer 2 cryptos live and breathe.
Sorry, you said layer 2 cryptos relying on Ethereum. What do you mean by that, Eric?
Well, these are kind of these so-called altcoins. So, like, obviously, there's everybody and his brother has a meme coin these days. A lot of them operate, on Solana network, on Ethereum, and so they kind of live built on the architecture of Ethereum. So they're not layer ones, which is Bitcoin or Ethereum. They're layer twos in that they're built on those different rails So what's been interesting, though, is that since the stock market lows of 2022, and when we've seen sort of a rebound, like that's when Bitcoin bottomed out at something like $17,000 US, and obviously it's much higher since. Yet when you look at the price of Ethereum since the 2022 lows, or certainly a lot of these sort of altcoins, they've increased, but like certainly not to the degree that Bitcoin has. So this has really been a sort of Bitcoin dominant rally to this point in crypto. And so what was interesting about the past rallies in 2017 or in 2020 after COVID is that eventually, usually it was Bitcoin that started the move up in cryptos, but eventually the altcoins followed, and we haven't seen that yet. So are we going to start to see some of that, spreading out of interest in alternative coins or alternatives to just Bitcoin? If so, then those things will do well. And then, Ethereum being kind of a layer one underlying a lot of those types of coins should do well as well.
Finally, quantum. And I know we could make jokes about whatever you see the value of a quantum stock being. Well, that is the value. But in any case, you do like some of the quantum computing names, and you hold a basket you recommend. IonQ, BGTI would be some of the names you favor.
Yeah, these quantum stocks that are public today, in a past world, they would still be private companies. And so as public market investors, realize that, there's a reason why venture capitalists always play golf and don't worry, because their private investments never trade like mark to market, minute by minute. So they would lose all their hair if they did. So when you're a public market investor, these things can move up and down on a whim, or a Jensen comment and so forth. So I think you want to be careful, but you should be interested in this whole space of quantum, because I do think that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, quantum is no question going to dominate our world. And so, will some of these players be a part of that? We don't know. So I think taking a basket approach makes sense. Me personally, I am long a Canadian listed company called BTQ Technologies that is sort of playing the quantum securities, in basically protecting the world from quantum attacks, which we've already seen evidence of in the last 6 months. But, from a quantum computer perspective, there are some pure plays like Rigetti, RGTI, IonQ, which is the same ticker, and another Canadian company, D-Wave Systems, QBTS is their ticker. Each one of those last three names, they've gone up, 30%, plus or minus 30%, 40% on different news, sometimes completely on their own. So I think taking a basket approach with them does make sense. But realize that there are other players like IBM, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, who are going to want to make their mark in the quantum space as well.
Thank you very much, Eric. Really appreciate it.
Great to see you.